book of scary stories. Tell me a story.
One thing that I enjoy the most about seeing as many movies as possible is that you get to witness the professional career arcs of actors, directors and writers before they go on to make more mainstream movies. A lot of this is just because I love watching movies, but I will admit that part of me gets a bit of a shallow ego boost whenever I watch a great indie film, then a few years later the film's lead actor or director gets announced for a massive blockbuster, and the filthy casuals are standing around asking, who is Ryan Coogler? And I can triumphantly enter the room like a hero and say, okay folks, let's talk about Fruitvale Station.
I apologise for nothing.
In a more relevant case, I was feeling pretty confident about Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, not because of the promotional material or even the books that the film is based on by Alvin Schwartz, but because it comes from director Andre Overdahl. Andre is one hell of a strong director, having done The Autopsy of Jane Doe in 2016 and the mockumentary Troll Hunter in 2010, otherwise known as only one of two good found footage movies. I've been so looking forward to what Andre would do next, and while Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark isn't a runaway success, it does confirm that the guy has a superb knack for the horror genre, and teaming him up with Guillermo del Toro, who's producing, is a match made in Lovecraftian hell. So the plot follows a group of teenagers in 1968 who come across a book in a haunted house which is filled with blood-curdling stories written by the possibly mad daughter of the small-town founders. However, they soon discover that the book is still writing new stories by itself, leading to an episodic narrative where the main character gets chased or afflicted by some supernatural spooky shit, leading to our lead heroine Stella, played by Zoe Colletti, to discover what dark secrets lie at the heart of their town. Whether or not this movie is faithful to the Alvin Schwartz novels, I couldn't tell you. As a Brit, I don't think these stories had any sort of impact in my country, unlike something like R.L. Stein's Goosebumps. I'd never heard of them until the film's first trailer was released. But what I can tell you is that if you're a young teenager, or you are the parent of a young teenager who is a bit too old for the Goosebumps movie or Hocus Pocus, but too young for The Conjuring or Halloween, then this hits that nice sweet spot with other welcoming horror films like Shaun of the Dead or Poltergeist or Anna and the Apocalypse. Its episodic structure keeps the film moving at a fast clip, and it also prevents the issue that some other horror films fall into, where the ghost or the entity spends 90 minutes just slamming doors or knocking over kitchen utensils because it has to wait until the third act to actually do something. Here, the creatures show up, wreck shop, and then leave, and then we start setting up the next story in the book written in blood. The creatures themselves are spectacularly well performed, with amazing makeup and costume work, and despite their limited screen time, they really do leave a substantial impact, especially the creepy, lumbering, pale lady in the red room. The characters are also pretty likeable, if a bit generic, and the period setting of the late 1960s feels authentic and a little bit Stephen King. If there's an issue though, it's the actual substance of the film. There really is no reason to set this film in 1968, yet one scene ends with the character getting taken by one of the creatures, then the camera pans over to Richard Nixon getting elected President of the United States. Like the two are somehow related? The film makes a big deal about the nature and the power of storytelling, which is noble, but the creatures that the book conjures up are personalised to certain people, and we often don't know that until the set piece is about to happen. These are not generic boogeymen or widely known folklore tales, so the metatext of the power of storytelling just doesn't click. The monsters aren't really metaphors for anything, they don't represent a personal failing on the part of the characters, except one guy is a Vietnam draft dodger, and his creature keeps on yelling "coward" every 10 seconds. Like, that's not how symbolism works, guys, though to be fair, the actual concept of his creature is on point. But it's just really, really muddled overall. Basically, there's not much to this film that will keep you thinking about it once the credits start rolling, except for the awesome creature designs. And that's made worse by the fact that it ends on a rushed cliffhanger, which feels really, really cheap. Also, while the filmmakers were aiming for a PG-13 rating in America, and that's what they got, in the UK, the BBFC have rated it a 15. And that's a shame, because those between the ages of 12 and 15 might get a lot out of this film on a visceral level, and it's clearly aiming at that demographic. But in the UK, most people over the age of 15 who can see this film in theatres likely won't find much in here to scare them. The film has great atmosphere and some solid jump scares, but it's not very intense by design, and I think it's best to wait until the film hits Blu-ray and watch it at home with a younger crowd. Still, I did have a good time with Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and there's some good stuff in there, but it didn't really leave much of an impact on me, and there's not really much to it. I think it will work wonders on a younger crowd though, but like I said, that crowd won't be able to legally watch it in my country, which is a shame because it's too tame for over 15s, in my opinion. I give Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark 3 stars out of 5.
I'm afraid I'm gonna die now.